Hi guys, in news that will surprise nobody who's been following the Northern Ireland Protocol saga, the UK Supreme Court has rejected a legal challenge by Unionist politicians and their allies in Great Britain. The highest court in the land ruled that the protocol is legal. This is following a number of legal challenges taken against the protocol by members of the DUP, TUV and people like Ben Habib and Kate Hoey. These are of course people who campaigned for Brexit, didn't understand Brexit, but when push came to shove, they believed that the UK would breach the Good Friday Agreement and see a border put up on the island of Ireland. Here's Jim Allister, the leader of the TUV, a party that's even more extreme than the DUP, explain how this isn't a failure, but merely a setback. Have a listen.
In terms of today's Supreme Court challenge, it should be realised that the essence of our challenge was always as to establish whether or not the protocol was lawfully made. The fact that the Supreme Court decrees that they are satisfied it was lawfully made does not impact at all upon the necessity of its political unacceptability. Indeed, some of the things in this judgment underwrite the political unacceptability, because we now know from the highest court in the land that Article 6 of the Acts of Union, which establishes the economic union of the United Kingdom, is now in suspension as far as Northern Ireland is concerned. It doesn't get any more union dismantling than that.
Okay, so these guys started out by saying that the Northern Ireland Protocol was illegal. They wouldn't show their legal advice, but they said it was illegal, and they took it to court. And they failed. They took it to the High Court in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, and they failed. They took it to an appeal court, I believe, and it failed. Now they've taken it to the Supreme Court, and it's failed. I'd like to ask the question, who's funding these people? Who's backing this campaign? Because it's not cheap. I imagine these lawyers are expensive, but somebody's paying for this. I wonder who it is. Anyway, so he's trying to say now that, yeah, we did lose the case and it is legal, but the problem is not legality, the problem is political. And how the Act of Union is being ignored here. Well, the courts have already said, and Parliament has said, that legislation that comes after the Act of Union overwrites the Act of Union. The Act of Union gets updated in a sense. And the courts have said this as well. So it's not a political problem. He's trying to create a political problem. But there isn't one. And there isn't a legal one either.
And it doesn't get any greater in terms of constitutional significance. And then on top of all that, we know that this is a protocol which puts us under foreign government through a foreign legislator making laws we can't change. That too.
What he's talking here about these is the fact that Northern Ireland is part of the single market. And because it's part of the single market, it has to follow the rules of the single market. But it doesn't have any representation in the single market because Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom. Northern Ireland is not a free state. It's not an independent country. Like, how could Northern Ireland have access to the rule making in the single market if it's not a country? It's not a free state. It doesn't have its own government. It has an assembly, which this guy is actually blocking the forming of, along with the DUP. But it can't send MEPs to the European Parliament because Northern Ireland is no longer part of the European Union. Like, he wants his cake and he wants to eat it too, it seems. He doesn't want a cake, but he wants to eat the cake or something like. So he doesn't want Northern Ireland to be part of the European Union, but he's complaining that there's no representation here, that the Northern Ireland have to accept EU laws, but it has no choice in the decision making of that. It has no access to the decision making. It has no say. But that's what you wanted. That's what you wanted with Brexit.
Is of immense constitutional significance. So my message out of this is that we draw from the critical constitutional findings to bolster and strengthen our political campaign, because no unionist worthy of the name can come to terms with the situation where a key component of the union that binds us to the UK is in suspension, and whereby we, colony-like, are ruled from a foreign legislator. So the political battle, strengthened by what's in this judgment, goes on and will go on until victory is achieved.
What does victory look like? You know, maybe you should take it to the European court, a European High Court or Supreme Court. This is just pathetic. Look, they failed. They started off by saying that this is illegal. That was deemed not true. Now they're saying that it's a political problem, that Northern Ireland has to accept laws from a foreign entity. But that's what you wanted with Brexit. This is the consequence of Brexit. People told you back in 2016, Brexit would be a problem for Northern Ireland, and people like Jim Allister ignored that. Now he's complaining about the consequences. And he's saying here that any unionist worth their salt would stand up and oppose this. Oppose what? The Conservative and Unionist Party are in the driving seat. They're supporting the protocol. Are they no longer unionists? I don't think they are, but that's for maybe unionists to decide. The TUV and the DUP have been thrown under a bus by Brexit. Not so much now the Conservative Party, but by Brexit itself. They were told it was a bad idea, they ignored that, they campaigned for it, they voted for it, and ironically they still support it. And they're complaining about the consequences. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.